Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the other way, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, everything that I say in reaction to this reality TV show is completely speculative based on very little information. Keep that in mind. Let's watch.
I would say that, like...
To me, the meaning of this wedding is the fact that I'm publicly giving you a second chance.
I thought, like, you were excited for me planning this wedding.
I am going along with this, giving you the chance you asked for.
Yikes. What? So, in a grumpy tone, she's saying, I'm just going along with this because I know you want to do this, and I'm just publicly giving you a second chance. If you're Corey, you just... I'll just say, if it was me, everyone's free to live their life how they want to, of course, and marry who they want to. If that was me, I'd be like, hold up. So what? Then no. Like, I don't want to get married to someone who's only marrying me because I've forced them, that they're complying with a marriage to me. Like, so we just have to wonder, why would Corey be okay with that? And what kind of relational traumas resulted in him either having low self-esteem, believing that this is the best he can do, accommodating for other people, not thinking about the self? We have to wonder if Corey really isn't in connection with his needs. Some of you might be able to relate to this, that you look back on certain relationships and you're like, why did I stay in that relationship for so long? And one of the possibilities is that when you were young, you weren't attuned to enough, and weren't able to connect with your needs and your emotions. It might sound weird, but for many people, neurologically, they are not in connection with their emotions. I've worked with clients, some of whom, due to significant mistreatment growing up, it takes years to connect with their emotion, meaning that when I ask them, what are you feeling right now? It takes years for them to be able to answer that with confidence or with wisdom around it. So it's possible that Corey isn't in connection with that and doesn't feel the pain, doesn't feel the neglect, doesn't feel the grumpiness, and is like, it just doesn't register. It's happening down there, but it doesn't register with him because he cut himself off from that, or he wasn't allowed to connect with that when he was young. And in addition to that, he might be very other focused of just like, I just need to please. I need to make sure everyone's okay. My purpose in life is to please other people and to make other people like me and be stable or something. But then, okay, why would Olivia do this? Why would she so frequently? Because it'd be one thing if a few years ago she's like, yeah, or I don't know how long they've been together, but a while ago said, I've been ambivalent about this relationship for a long time. One, either don't want to be with him, or two, no, we're not getting married. That's off the table. And so her behavior points in another direction. Her behavior points in a direction that she actually wants to be with him. So I don't know that for sure, obviously, but it looks that way. Or is she too not in connection with her feelings and she's just also other focused but grumpy about it? I suspect, based on my conceptualization and, watching her over time, is that she has been relationally traumatized to the extent that she actually believes that she can't trust other people, that other people won't be there for her. And so she is in a frequent state, seemingly, of believing that other people are going to hurt her. And so when you are hypervigilant about that person's going to hurt me, that person's going to leave me, that person's going to betray me, that person's going to humiliate me, then you sort of preemptively put up a wall in the same way that 13-year-olds will do that. 13-year-olds in general, not all 13-year-olds, believe that other people are going to humiliate them. They're pretty insecure. And so the way that they preemptively protect themselves is they act cool, whatever, I don't care. And they deeply, deeply care. Anyone who says whatever, I don't care, like the Angelas of the world who come across like they don't care, they adamantly say, I don't give a crap about what's happening. They deeply, deeply give a crap about what's happening. And so is that where that's coming from, of just like, she's so insecure about that and so wounded around that in the past that she, in this moment, is like, well, I desperately want closeness and I desperately like Corey because he actually puts up with me and will always come back to me after breaking up with him for 8 times. But I'm still terrified of being hurt. I'm still terrified of being humiliated. And so I know that I can say whatever I want to say and he will still marry me according to past evidence. So I'm going to protect myself, particularly on camera. I'm going to present like, whatever, I don't need this. I can take it or leave it, when deep down she's terrified of losing it.
I'm in such a bitchy mood today. It's because you made me so mad last time.
All right, so let's see where this goes. But this is a pretty frequent dynamic that I'll see in my office. So she says, I'm in a pretty bad mood, and it's because of what you did last night. Now, maybe Corey was a jerkface last night. We could also imagine Corey just being nice and accommodating, and somehow it just displeasing her. Who knows? But I will see this behavior. I don't know if this applies to this couple, but for people who have similar relational traumas and similar defensive structures that Evelin seems to have, I don't know if she has this, they will frequently be wounded and triggered, and then they will be aggressive and angry with other people because of how much hurt they feel. And they are distorting what's happening. They'll be like, I'm being treated terribly, and when they're not really being treated terribly. But it's a distortion. They don't decide to do that. It's involuntary. They get in a terrible mood and then they react, and it happens often. And so they kind of get used to this. And then when the triggering subsides, they feel fine. Everything's normal. And they start to notice that, because they've been dealing with it their whole life, that they definitely get into a mood every now and then. And especially as they get older, they start to realize, oh, I think I'm in one of those moods. And they'll start to have this emerging awareness, and they'll sometimes have this kind of narrative or way of describing it. I don't know if that's what's happening right now, but the other thing is that you will blame other people because it feels like it's everyone else's fault, instead of, when I treat people like this, it's very important that they take responsibility for their own moods and their own triggering. It doesn't, they're not responsible in that it's their fault, but they need to divorce their moods from what's happening on the outside. It's not necessarily Corey's fault. It could be that Corey stepped on a landmine or poked at a wound on accident and then it exploded, and it's not Corey or Evelin's fault. It's the whoever treated Evelin poorly in the past. It's their fault. I can't know this for sure. Obviously, it's pure speculation. But let's see what details we get here to see, did Corey actually do something that would justify her being in a bad mood for the past 24 hours, or did she distort something? I don't know. I'm guessing we're not going to get any details, but let's find out.
Even making you mad in your dreams, apparently.
Yeah, you.
What happened in the dream?
Okay. It doesn't get any better than that, right? Like, obviously, it's not his fault. It's her projection. She invented a Corey in her mind that she did something bad to herself in the dream. And I find that undifferentiated people, when they dream about other people, they have a hard time differentiating between the Corey they invented in their mind and the actual Corey in the real world. And then they wake up the next morning and they're pissed at you because of what they did to themselves. And they can't differentiate. It's like, well, you did this in this dream last night. It's like, no, you did that to yourself. That was you. You were the puppeteer of the Corey in your mind. Do you understand that? You're the puppeteer of every aspect of your dream. It's the dream isn't happening to you. You are happening to yourself. Anyway, so now maybe she's making light of it, just like, yeah, you were a jerk in my dream last night, but she's seemingly kind of blaming him, making him feel guilty for something that she did to herself, which is an interesting analogy to real life.
I saw the Jenny. She was telling me that you were the one, and I just kept slapping her, and then I went and slapped you so hard till I woke up because my hands were hurting.
It's like I can't even do anything right, even in your dreams.
Okay, so you saw that look in his face. I can't even do anything right, even in your dreams. You see that kind of... It's one of the only times, if not the only time, I've seen him exhibit what I would say is a fair response of just like, so I'm being blamed for things that you did in your dream, you know? Like, now, she did dream about something that is extremely relevant to the real world, which is that Jenny, someone he dated for a short amount of time after she broke up with him, she was being violent in the dream with Jenny and wanted to be violent with Corey. But anyway, maybe Corey might be turning a corner here of just like, maybe he's reevaluating and saying like, okay, why am I always being blamed for everything?
You did that. I've been having dreams about this Jenny situation. I wake up super mad at him. Trust me, I'm trying very hard to forget about Corey and this other woman, but I'm a human, and even though I try so hard to forget, sometimes I still get upset about it.
Okay, so this is more and more looking like someone who has a lot of relational traumas that has a situation that highly triggered those relational traumas that doesn't... Now, anyone, I would say, in Evelin's position would feel a little icky about, so I broke up with you, and then, which is, my responsibility, but then very quickly you started dating someone and you were with that person for a long time, and it seems like you're really happy together, it's going to hurt. And, you break up, even if you break up with someone and then right away they're with someone else, it hurts. It hurts. It's just like, it feels like it didn't really, your relationship with the person didn't really matter to them because there wasn't a grieving period. That's not always the case, of course, because sometimes people grieve by dating other people. As long as you're upfront about those kinds of things with people, it's not lying to them. But anyway, so she is having a lot of dreams, which points to trauma, which points to trauma reactivity. When we have trauma, we tend to have dreams that are either directly related to the trauma or triggers to the trauma or symbolic of the trauma. But she's literally having dreams exactly of the trigger to her traumas, of betrayal and people mistreating her. And I don't doubt that she's feeling a lot of feelings, and that when she says she frequently wakes up and she's angry, if I was working with her, I'd say, what's behind that anger? Because in all likelihood, it's pain. It's a lot of hurt that is, being, that's present. And then anger comes from that hurt. Someone steps on your foot. The first thing you feel is pain. The second thing you feel is anger. How come you stepped on my foot, right? That's, primary and secondary emotions. Sometimes we feel anger as a primary emotion. I won't go into the details, but in relationships, in my model, and the way that I think about things, and the way that a lot of attachment-oriented therapists think, it's mainly attachment injury and pain that happens, or attachment fear, and then anger emerges from that. We're saying, hey, don't hurt me. Hey, don't scare me, that kind of thing. And for Evelin, she seems to be exhibiting that this is a deep, because if you just take her verbatim, what she says, she doesn't care about this relationship. She doesn't really love Corey. She doesn't really want to be with him. But to dream that often about it, that points in a whole different direction.
Just like a normal person.
You know how important it is, not only to your family, but also to my family, the importance of God and religion.
I just don't want to get married in my family's religion because they believe that if you get married through God, it's still dead.
Yikes. Now, I've heard people talk this way before, like, I'm getting married and I really do want to marry this person, but, realistically, it might not last forever. I think it's rare that people will think that way. It's rational, since half of marriages end in divorce, so it's not irrational to believe that. And sometimes you're just like, who knows what the future will hold. In the past, I was with someone I thought I was going to be with them the rest of my life, and it didn't turn out that way. So, who knows? I hope we managed to work it out, but, who knows? So there's that. But when you look at the whole thing, it's like, from Corey's perspective, it's like, wait, so not only are you just marrying me to comply with me, but you're also saying you don't want to get married under God because you want to hold out for divorcing me. Just like, if you were Corey's friend or family member, you would say, Corey, no, just no.
It's not through God.
You get married when your relationship is at the best time. And it felt like we did that at first time. But right now, it's just like trying to fix a big hole. And we're trying to fix it with like, I don't know, a very cheap tape.
So, I don't know. There's a possibility that Corey knows that Evelin deep down really does want to be with Corey. Because, what did I say? Corey knows that Evelin deep down wants to be with Corey. Because she's exhibited that. And Corey's like, no, I know that she really wants to be with me forever, and I'm going to pressure her to get married under God, like we both want to, like our families both want to. But if that's not the case, if you actually don't believe that, then it's like, if you're Corey and you're hearing this, the first thing you should say, because what he's doing now is he's trying to convince her. He's like, no, we should. That's the whole point. You shouldn't be in a position where you're trying to force someone to be monogamous to you, to commit to you, and to be loyal to. You shouldn't have to do that, right? And if you're ever in that position, and I see people do that, like someone will be breaking up with, you, and you'll just be like, no, don't break up with me. It's like, no, like you don't, if someone is willing to do that to you, you don't want to persuade them into a relationship. I get the impulse, but you really want to avoid that. We all understand in most, cultures, the relationship is voluntary. That you shouldn't be in a position to convince. Now, it could hurt, and you could be like, oh, really? Is that how you feel? But you need to accept that. Corey, in a healthy world, would accept that. Oh, she is very much on the fence about marrying me, is saying which means she's very much on the fence about really being with me. And now what? If I accept reality, now what does that mean for me?
It's like you're already assuming divorce.
If you are a good husband, there is no reason for me to divorce you.
I did not think of that. So it's possible that Evelin doesn't want to be locked in because she wants the option of being able to threaten him. There's another world where she just is still ambivalent, even with her wounds and even with her back and forth with him. There's a possibility that she's just really only sort of half into him. I don't know. People with the kind of relational wounds that I think she suffers from will sometimes not be in connection with who they are as people, and not be in connection with their needs, and just be kind of thrown around by the world and what's happening around them. But anyway, who knows? But she has said before, she said on camera, I broke up with him because I wanted to motivate him to do X, Y, and Z. I wanted him to learn Spanish. I wanted him to be more independent. And when I broke up with him, I didn't break up with him in reality. I broke up with him because of X, Y, and Z. And it's something that she admits to using as a tool. And people have commented below and said, I used to do that. They'll say, I used to be like Evelin. I used to break up with my partner habitually as a way of trying to, I didn't really want to leave them. I felt an overwhelming urge in that moment to leave them, but I actually, when you look at the bigger picture, I never really wanted to leave them, clearly, because I always accepted them back. But in the moment, I was trying to communicate something through breaking up with them, and I think Evelin does that. So is she trying to hold on to that tool? Now, you could say, what a jerk face. It's psychopathic to torture someone that way. But if my conceptualization is correct, which I can't know, I'd have to ask her, that her relational traumas of abandonment and betrayal lead her to know that from the past that she needs heavy-handed tools to communicate things, because she will feel extreme betrayal and extreme pain. And she's learned that by just saying, hey, I don't like what you did, it doesn't change that. When she's learned over time, and I could absolutely see this with Corey, that if she really uses a heavy-handed tool, i.e. breaking up with him, there's a period of time where he is extremely compliant and extremely into her, where there's just like no doubt in anyone's mind that Corey is not going to betray and not going to leave her. And that feels good. And so they're in this cycle potentially. And she wants to hold on to that mechanism, which I can't know that if that's what's happening, but it could be.
I'm just being honest with you, okay?
I don't want to get divorced, and it sounds like that's something...
I don't want to get divorced either. That if I feel that our relationship is not strong enough, I'm going to be prepared for a bad ending if it happens.
You saying, if we get divorced, does not make me feel comfortable.
Good. I'm glad that he can identify that. And I hope that he takes some time with himself and says, okay, what does this mean to me? Does this mean that this is a good relationship for me? Is this what I need? Is this what I want? Do I want to be with someone who thinks that way about marriage with me?
Okay with divorce at all. But the problem is that it'll be way worse if this is part of their church as well.
So you're essentially saying that it's just an easier option to get divorced.
Seriously, like even when I go to an airplane, like I check for the exits first thing.
Okay, so she might be talking about an anxiety that she has, that she feels claustrophobic if she's trapped in any situation, whether it be in an airplane or in a relationship, which if that's true, then that doesn't necessarily mean that she isn't into the marriage. However, she has said multiple times, including this episode, I'm only marrying you because you convinced me, and you're to get you to. She doesn't say this, but essentially, I'm only marrying you to shut you up. I only married you because of the visa. I didn't really want to marry you, and so when you take all that into consideration, and the fact that she keeps talking about like, if a divorce happens, I don't want to get married under God because that will allow me to get out of this marriage. Then, in the Gestalt, I think Corey needs to stop arguing with her and stop and think, is this what I want? And maybe it would be. Maybe he's like, you know what? She's clearly on the fence, but I'm okay with that. I'm willing to roll the dice. But this arguing of like, I need you to be different. I need you to love me more. I need you to think about marriage differently. I need you to think about me differently. It's just, you can't force someone to do that.
I need to look for my exits of this thing. Not because I'm expecting the airplane to fall or I'm expecting something to happen. It's just so I know where the exits are.
So you're basically saying you're setting up our marriage to have a nice exit, a smooth exit. And that's what scares me so much.
And good. Corey's speaking from the heart. That scares me. It scares me that you're looking for an exit before we even get married. It scares me that you say that. That's good. He's not getting upset. He's not blaming her. He's not storming out of the room. He's not flashing his private parts. He's just saying, it scares me.
Sounds really bad when when you talk that way.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna say it anymore. I want you to feel okay. You're right. I should have thought about how it feels on the other side. I need to be nicer with the way I express.
I appreciate that.
Okay, that's a turn of events. She's like, I'm sorry. I need to be nicer. I need to understand how those kinds of things affect you. All right, so maybe this is progress for the two of them. I don't know.
Or as into this as I am.
I am.
Okay, yeah, I'm just really stressed and I'm, worried.
Okay, that's a turn of events. So he just asked flat out, are you into this as much as I am? And she says, I am. And then they edited it, but which always bothers me. Just let him talk. Let's just hear the conversation. But anyway, so then he's like, okay, good. So what is it? And this is what I was saying in the beginning is, does Corey know that when Evelin expresses these kinds of ambivalences about the marriage or being with him, he knows like that's not really the real her. She's saying that because she's triggered or she's insecure, but I know the real her. I know she deeply loves me. I know she deeply wants to be with me. And it's hard for her to admit sometimes, but I can feel it, and I've heard her say things like that off camera. So hopefully that's what it is. Otherwise, he's potentially heading for a cliff regarding the marriage.
I would want to be officiating our wedding.
It's
the last person on earth that makes sense. She doesn't even want us to get married. What the heck? Why would you pick her to be in charge of that?
Wait, is she talking about one of those two sisters? Is that I didn't catch that. Is she talking about, who is she talking about? Is she talking about one of the, the penis soup people, the penis soup sisters?
Doesn't want us to be together. Like, that cannot be more clear.
That's on you, because she has seen all the stupid things that you have done. They have hurt me. She's a protected sister. I will do
Exactly.
that. I will be worse
So,
if I saw the boyfriend of her doing what you've been doing. That guy would probably murder already.
Wow. Okay, let's just break this down. So she's saying that if her sister had a boyfriend that did what you did, I would have murdered him. Now, I'm sure she wouldn't actually murder him, but so that's her mindset. She breaks up with him. It is for good. He leaves the country. It's like they're never going to see each other again. He meets someone for a short amount of time and dates her. And I would have murdered you if I was my sister. And lied about it, which was wrong. But we've been all over that already. Anyway, she's really trying to convince that one of the penis soup sisters is supposed to, absolutely, they are the ones that's supposed to marry us. What? Out of everyone, and that's what Corey's like, no, out of everyone in the world, she's the last person. Why are you pushing this person? Why? So let's hypothesize. Why would Evelin want that? Why would Evelin want that? Maybe she has some sort of relationship with the sister. She feels like she needs to give her a favor, give her the spotlight or something. Maybe she wants the wedding to be oriented towards her or something. I don't know. Why would she fight with him on this issue?
So I say I never want to be engaged. You make me be engaged. I never want to be married. You got me to be married.
Oh, Corey. So now she's back to saying this. I never wanted to be engaged. You forced me to... Forced you? No. He asked you, and you said yes. It's not forcing. You could have said no. You could say no now. You can back out now. There's no forcing. You forced me to get married to you. No. He did not force it. You could have said no. As far as I know, all that would have happened would his visa would have been up. He would have had to go home. So, not a problem. What an interesting way of putting things. So this is her way of trying to argue for one of the penis soup sisters to. Is it one of those sisters? Anyway, someone that he doesn't want to marry them. This is what she brings up, and she's using this as a tool of like, you're not letting me choose the person and who marries us. Out of everyone in this town, in this world, I want that person, and that's the one person you don't want doing it. And I'm going to try to convince you. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to say, you forced me to get engaged. You forced me to marry you. That's her argument. Like, okay, Corey, listen to what she's saying.
Now I'm agreeing to a public wedding. At least give me one thing. I understand a little bit why Corey's not thrilled about Leslie being deficient, but I think Leslie is our best option. And I'm hoping that Corey and her can get along and we can all have a nice wedding and a good relationship.
Okay, why do you think that Leslie is the best option? If you're not going to get married under a pastor, in a church, I'm pretty sure anyone, or at least, you can get anyone to be registered as an officiant anyway. So why would you care on this issue? It's a total mystery. Is it her way of sabotaging? I mean, that'd be the only thing. It's like her way of sabotaging the marriage because she doesn't actually want to get married.
I am definitely 100% not on board with this. But I feel like I need to let Evelin call the shots here because I feel like I am just super lucky that she's even agreeing to go through with the wedding. My biggest fear about Leslie being the officiant is...
I mean, listen to yourself talk, Corey. At least she's agreeing to go through with the wedding. It's not like she's agreeing to let me buy a motorcycle. She's agreeing to let me go on a hunting trip with my friends. You know, those are different sort of things. She's agreeing to marry me. Listen to yourself.
She'll just think it's a joke. I don't know if Leslie's gonna say something at the altar that is disrespectful towards me. She could really humiliate me in front of everybody. So I really don't like Leslie having that power because I have no idea how she's gonna use it.
Yeah, I don't know anything. So it must be one of the Penis Soup sisters. I don't know anything about that woman. I don't know what she's capable of, but in general, but we've seen some behaviors in the past. She is capable of, I want to use certain words, but I'm not. She's capable of behavior that exhibits lack of remorse and empathy and a pleasure in other people's humiliation and pain. That's what we saw. And to ask your husband to allow that person to be your fiance, to be the, well, husband, they're married, to be the officiant, yeah, makes total sense. That would be the last person you'd want on earth to do that. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.